Is hearing everyone's stories. I love especially to hear the stories that, David and Kathy prepare to us. I love hearing the tall tales we had a few weeks ago. But mostly I really like to hear the true stories that you all tell about your accomplishments and your achievements and things of adversity that you've overcome. When I was preparing my speech for last night, I couldn't think of any successes to share with you. I couldn't think of any adversity that I had overcome. I really could only think about my failures. And then I thought, why do we not share our failures with each other? Isn't there more to learn from our failures than our successes? Isn't that where the greatest lessons in life come from? So I would like to share with you the biggest failure of my life. And I would like to share with you the 3 things that I learned from that experience and the 3 skills that I still have today because of that experience. It was after college. I was considering what to do with my life. My father has a doctorate, my mother has 2 graduate degrees, so naturally I knew I was going to go on to some kind of graduate school. I was a science major, so naturally I thought about medical school, dental school, physical therapy school. I really love science and I love chemistry and how the body works, but I really don't particularly love treating patients or helping people with their healthcare needs. Secondly, I was terribly motivated by financial gain. So I thought, what can I do with myself that is the least amount of school and makes the most amount of money? So the conclusion came to me that law school was the answer. Law school is particularly appealing because it's only 3 years of school, whereas medical school is 4 years, plus you may have 4 to 8 years of residency. And lawyers starting out in major metropolitan areas typically earn about 6 figures. So this clearly was the answer for me. I applied to law school, and I was accepted to law school, and I miserably failed out of law school. Law school became not only the biggest failure of my life, but also the most defining moment in my life. And the moments were defined not by what I lost, but what I gained. And there are 3 specific things that I still have with me today that I gained from my failure in law school. The first thing that I gained was really kind of an accidental consequence. I realized once I was out of law school, I could read at an extraordinary pace. Once I was no longer bound by this heavy, dense, boring, mind-numbing material, I could read for fun at like 100 pages an hour. I can finish a book in an afternoon. And once I realized that reading was fun again, because law school really makes you forget that, I realized I could devour the information at an enormous speed. I didn't plan to have that skill, but I realized that sometime after law school that I could read so much faster. It allows me to devour more information, and I love to learn. The second skill that I acquired as a result of law school is the ability to concentrate on mind-numbing material for hours and hours and hours. Again, in law school, most of what you spend your time doing is reading case briefs. Your textbooks typically are appellate court judge opinions or even Supreme Court judge opinions, and they tend to be dramatically condensed for the purpose of that lesson. So you don't get to read 20 pages of opinion. You really are looking for the legal theory and the legal rules in something as short as a paragraph. Because the material has so condensed, it takes you hours and hours to get through it. Every word means something. And not only does every word mean something, you don't know what half the words mean, so you sit there with your Black's Law Dictionary looking up every word and then going back to your word and then back and forth and back and forth. So after I left law school, I realized in the real world, this was a particularly appealing skill to employers. Someone would say, who wants to review the last 10 years of budget spreadsheets and look for all the typos. Okay, because anything at that point would be more interesting than what I was studying and what I had studied in law school. I found that my brain had become so used to struggling and concentrating for hours and hours and hours. Now in my regular life, I just can do all of these things. You want to do 10,000 pages of data entry? Okay. It just becomes so easy. The third thing that I learned from law school, and probably the most important thing I learned, is fearlessness. Up until my 20s, my biggest fear in life was academic failure. I had been so motivated by academic success that I had a 4.0 in high school. I had straight A's in college. I had never even gotten a B in school until law school. And then I was getting D's and C's and F's. This was not something that I was accustomed to. When you are facing your greatest fear and you realize you have not succeeded, it's terribly painful. It's terribly embarrassing. It's shameful. And you don't feel as if you have any self-worth. When you are someone like me who based most of their self-worth on their academic achievements, now that you have failed academically, you have no self-worth. But what I actually learned is that your self-worth is not defined by your academic success or failure. Your self-worth isn't defined by your financial gains or losses. I learned that your self-worth isn't defined by what you do or don't do for a living. Your self-worth is really defined by the quality and the content of your character. And you're sitting there, and you realize at some point, after the pain and the embarrassment and the disappointment has passed, that the quality and the content of your character is still the same. You're still the same person. You're still intelligent. You're still funny. You're still kind. Your spouse still loves you. You still love them. Your family still cares about you. There are these motivational posters that I see in my chiropractor's office and in the break room at lunch. And one of the most famous quotes on these motivational posters is, "What couldn't you do if you knew you could not fail?" Well, that quite literally is me. Not because I won't always succeed at everything, because I no longer feel that my self-worth is tied to the outcome of a situation. Thank you.